Join me, Mark Stone.
Me, Martha Kellner.
And me, James Matthews, as we take over the Sky News Daily Podcast for the week of the US election.
The election starts today.
We'll take you with us as we head out across the state, hearing from voters about the issues that will decide who becomes the next president.
Life was better under Trump.
It's a woman's right to choose.
See, the swamp don't want him in there.
On November 5th, we'll have a new president, and her name will be Kamala Harris.
And share our stories from the final days on the campaign trail.
Mr. Trump, over here.
We're from Sky News from the UK.
I thought I was going to see a punch up.
These are people all on the same side.
Exactly.
Every day at 5 p.m. So join us wherever you get your podcasts.
Today, the Sky News Daily is in South London. I'm Liz Bates. I'm standing outside a reproductive choices clinic, which is where women come to get abortions. Something interesting happening today, though. There's no one standing outside here. There's no one praying. There's no one harassing women as they come in and out, holding leaflets, holding rosary beads. And that's because a change that happened in the law a year and a half ago has finally come into force, which means that there's a 150-metre buffer zone around this clinic and around clinics like this all over the UK. It's a huge day for women because it means that they can walk in and out of this clinic without being harassed. And that's what I'm going to do now.
Hello. Hiya. Hello, Liz. I'm Michaela. Lovely to meet you. Come in. Just grab you a chair.
So Michaela is the operations manager at this clinic, and she's worked here for 10 years, but has worked in termination services for around 17 years. What's it like here on a day-to-day basis? It seems quite busy in the waiting room.
I mean, we are a very busy centre, so we're one of the sort of main ones across the country. So we do sort of range from the very early terminations of pregnancy right up to the legal limit. So we do have a mixture of lists running from day to day, whether that just be medical terminations, surgical.
What would be the kind of range of reasons that people would come in?
You know, as I said, sometimes it's contraception failure. You know, you can do everything you're meant to do and it doesn't work. Again, we see, unfortunately, the worst cases as well, where there's clients, unfortunately, that have been sexually assaulted. There's domestic violence within the home. They're, potentially quite young. So there's fetal abnormalities, again, is a big one. There's such a range, I don't think it'd be easy to say there's not like a margin of this is how many we see because of that reason. Everyone is different. So, we're there to help everyone, regardless of why they're here. I think people tend to think that it's a very sad, mundane kind of atmosphere, and it actually isn't. But we've had sort of compliments in regards to our staff from clients to say, it's nice to see people that are quite bubbly, and we tried to make, it's a very normal thing. That's sort of what we're doing, and we're helping everybody. So we tried to make the environment very calm.
Tell me about the situation that you've had going on outside the clinic, because you've got a very long driveway here. You're on a main road, and I think I'm right in saying you've had people standing outside the driveway as women come in and out.
Yeah, every day. This has been going on for years, but we've definitely noticed since the law was passed, we noticed a massive increase of the sort of the activity outside. So we used to get maybe 2 or 3 times a week, would get a handful of people. We've noticed that we've had them pretty much every day. And, there was a couple of weeks ago and one Saturday we counted 28 people standing at that gate. So for anybody coming into a service and to see that mass amount of people, this was even the neighbours and the local shopkeepers was calling me and telling me there is massive activity. I wasn't here. There's massive activity outside the building. Nothing we can do about it, and I think that's what's the sort of the gut-wrenching thing, because from my office upstairs I can see them setting up every day and I think, here we go again, and there's nothing we can do. I've had to go out there in times when it has become physical, because there's friends and family that obviously they're here to support whoever they're with, and they're being confronted by these people, and it's very, the emotions are heightened. So we have had to have police activity on a number of occasions. But you can't phone the police every single time that they're there.
People are standing outside. What are they doing out there?
They've always got leaflets. One of them is it says, there's a section in it that says, "Hi mummy, it's me." And then there's words, which again, that really, when I say it kind of makes me feel a little bit like choked. Because it's horrible. It's horrible. And there'll be sort of some sort of scripture in. I mean, I have read them, and you become a bit sort of numb to it. And then there's pictures of, there are sort of drawings of different stages of pregnancy, and it will say, I've now got fingernails, and I've now got eyelashes, and a lot of the information in there is not true. It's not medically factual, which I think is the worst thing. Potentially giving people false medical advice, it can be extremely dangerous, but first and foremost. And then there's sort of ones that they have on the plaques over the road is sort of signs that say choose them both, and it's got we can help the mother, and it offers financial stability and housing, and albeit they're not as graphic as they used to be, because believe you me, some of the ones that we had years ago were extremely graphic with pictures, and we had posters sometimes pinned on our railings. I'd come along
fetuses and things like that.
Yeah, it was. And they would put signs up at the sort of end of each road, and with a notice to say graphic images ahead, so warning cars and warning people coming towards them of what they're going to see. But that, in my mind, so you're warning people of that, so you must know that what you're putting up there is wrong.
But now it seems like it's more emotive.
We have a guy that's there quite often that when he arrives, again, I can't say for sure that's what it is, but it looks believed to be holy water. So he'll go up and down the drive outside, and he'll sort of sprinkle the floor and the fences. They approach people in cars, any activity at all really that's sort of coming in and out. They would approach. I have witnessed them knocking on car windows. They're just very intimidating as a whole.
It sounds quite intimidating.
It is. I've had people approach me, and I think I said it, Matt, and there's something that's always stuck with me. I worked at another provider, and I had a woman spit at me. I've been called a murderer before now. I've been told I've got blood on my hands, and I'm not the only one that's experienced it. We all speak about it, and obviously I'm lucky enough to have the platform that I've been able to speak to people to express that. But we have got testimonies from our clients that have said, how they feel coming in. We know with all of our majority of the clients, if they don't go through on the day, it's a highly likely that they will come back another day. So they're not preventing terminations. If anything, they're just sort of prolonging it, and making that situation last longer than potentially what it should. And we know as I said, we had a client not so long ago that was here and was extremely traumatized. She was extremely emotional. The nurses called us down as managers to sort of come and speak to her. And she left on that day. She didn't want to go ahead because she was really sort of just so emotional. It was horrible. She phones up I think 2 or 3 days later, and there was a note left on our system to say that she is asked that on the day that she comes back, if there's protesters there, can we phone her and let her know and come out and meet her and walk her in? That to me, you're going to have a medical procedure, but yet you need some sort of protection.
As if you're sort of a criminal or something.
That's exactly, and I think that was quite, that hit a lot of people that day. I know our admin team, there was a certain member of the admin team that got really affected by that, and it was like, we have to work sort of basically security for clients trying to access a medical procedure. It was horrible. Abortion is healthcare. That's the message that we've been trying to get across for so long, and you don't have to experience this kind of harassment in any other form of healthcare that you go through.
So they would argue, of course, that they are deeply religious, and what they're doing, they think that they're doing a good thing.
Everyone has a right to have their own thoughts and their own opinions, and in regards to sort of the religious side, I get absolutely fine. But the argument that they're there and they're having silent prayer, and you can pray anywhere. You don't need to stand or sit or kneel outside of our doors to pray in regards to something that you believe is not correct. You have your thoughts and opinions on it, absolutely fine. But why does it have to be right on our doors? You can silent pray anywhere you like. The fact that you're doing it at the gates of a service that is providing terminations in itself is harassment. You're there, it's intimidating.
So what happens today if those people turn up and start setting up outside? the clinic?
Well, I'll phone the police, I think, because, you know, a law is a law. You know, and if I saw somebody else breaking the law outside, if I saw someone breaking into a car or burgling a shop, I'd phone the police. That's against the law. So my thing now, they're outside, you're breaking the law, I'll phone the police. I'll be interested to see what the police response is, because we've never had to, you know, although we've had to have the police here, unless they're causing sort of a public nuisance, or they're not allowed to move them on. So whereas now, I would be interested to see, I mean, as much as I don't want them there, absolutely not, what the police presence might do. So yes, we had our morning huddle, which we do every day anyway, but it was a moment sort of we all gave ourselves a little round of applause this morning, and we've been very sort of, we'll keep an eye out. So I think everyone's sort of curtain twitching today just to see if anyone does sort of come outside. But it feels like a big achievement.
So we've left the abortion clinic. We're now on a quiet street in North London. We're going to a young woman's house who has had an abortion. She's spoken out publicly about it, and she's campaigned because she was harassed when she had it. And so she's been waiting a long, long time for this day. So we're going to go and speak to her now.
Yeah. Hi,
Hello.
Lily.
It is.
Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
how are
Liz
you?
from Sky.
Lovely
Nice to meet you.
Does anyone, what kind of tea do you guys want? Or coffee? Or
I'd love a cup of tea.
cup of tea?
That
Yeah.
would be
Just
amazing.
So
normal.
Lily was
Yeah.
just 18 years old and at university studying sociology in Scotland when she found out that she was pregnant.
I found out I was pregnant in my student hall's kitchen. I was lucky enough that I was surrounded by a group of friends who I'm still best mates with to this day. And we were in the kitchen, the test was on the toaster. And I remember looking at it, we all kind of thought, I've been feeling really sick. And we all kind of just thought I had a bug or something. We're like, oh, jokingly, we'll see whatever, but surely not. Ended up that, of course, it was the case. I think often you're given this whole typical image of like a distraught woman who's just hysterical and so upset, and that wasn't the case. I was pregnant, knew that I wasn't financially, emotionally kind of able to have or raise a child, knew it was the right decision for me, and tried to seek out abortion care. Once I knew I was pregnant, I went online, found out what I needed, and had 2 really great 30-minute consultations before I was even given like the opportunity to have an abortion. You don't go to just one clinic, you go to 2 appointments. So I got referred at first to Sandyford, which was a sexual health clinic in Glasgow. During that time, I was given a comprehensive explanation of all my options, and furthermore about contraception afterwards. I had a consultation, was given the first set of pills because it's a 2-stage procedure. And following that, I think it was about a week later, I then went to Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow, and I had the second set of pills there.
And what happened as you arrived at the hospital?
So I arrived at the hospital about 7 a.m. with my ex-partner, and we had got a taxi. There's this one entrance exit point, and there were about 15 to 20 protesters. And they were standing holding leaflets, which they were attempting to hand out. And they had big placards accusing me of being a murderer, among other slurs. And it was just really shocking going in and seeing that. And it was just very, very intimidating and disorienting as well, because I thought that only happened in America. I didn't know it was a thing in England, or Scotland in my case. It was a complete surprise to me. I had no idea that happened outside clinics. Came out 7 hours later and they were still out there. So it's very persistent. It's very kind of just aggressive and stubborn. So my partner at the time came out to get some fresh air and was approached by one of them. There was a real sense of surveillance. That should have been a time where I took care of myself and my body and processed what was happening to me. But instead, I was anxious, and I was frankly furious about the fact that I was being intimidated and my privacy was being invaded.
Do they speak to you?
If I'd been walking in, I think it would have been even worse, to be honest. But because I got a cab, the cab kind of gave me a bit of a barrier of sorts. And it was a bit like, you know, when you see a really bad car crash or something, or a bad accident, and you don't want to look, but you kind of feel like your brain is also telling you to look. It's a bit like that, where I knew they were there and it was horrific and I'd seen all the signs, but I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. But if I think about it now, I can still see the exact lineup of people, what the signs were. I can visualize it. And this is 8 years later? So I think it's a very intense and long-lasting impression that it's left on me. My abortion wasn't traumatic. The harassment I received was. You have to justify why you want an abortion, and 2 doctors have to sign off on it. I was in a situation where I could advocate for that, and a lot of people who have to justify their decisions might have encountered kind of access barriers way before even getting to the clinic. So the last thing you need is a group of people, however many, then imposing their non-medical, moral, unasked for judgments and trying to enact some kind of strange obsessive saviourship over you.
A lot of their explanation for it is they want to offer women an alternative before they make that choice, and that's part of the leaflets, isn't it? They say we'll help you, we'll support you, you can have the baby and you don't have to go through with it. What do you kind of say to that?
A lot of anti-choice protesters would say that they're providing a point of care and that they are doing something to kind of protect people. I would say maybe take those efforts away from an abortion clinic where someone's likely already made a decision and is seeking the advice and interacting with medical professionals.
So the law actually was changed 18 months ago. It's only today that it's come into force in England and Wales. It's already been implemented back in June in Scotland. How does this feel for you this day?
It's so exciting. I think more than anything, everyone just feels a lot of relief. Everyone can kind of breathe. And I think understanding the scale of people that this is going to help is really important. It's people accessing care, it's people accompanying them, it's anyone going to any kind of healthcare clinic for any reason. It's medical professionals who have been harassed day in and out for years and years. So it's just incredibly exciting, and it makes me feel so much comfort knowing that other people won't have to go through what I went through and what a lot of people I know went through.
In just a moment, I'll be at the Home Office and we'll be speaking to the Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips. We really wanted to interview Jess Phillips today. She's now the Safeguarding Minister for Women and Girls, but she's also been campaigning on this for many years. And in the end, she was the one that brought this law into fruition and made it happen.
It's quite a difficult subject, and it plays out in politics all around the world at the moment, the issue of abortion. But the fundamental principle of a woman's right to choose is something that means so very much to me. And the idea, it's a really good example of why winning elections matters, because we came in here, there was a lever to pull, we pulled it, and now this protection is in place for women in our country. I feel pretty proud. I mean, I went to Women's Liberation Playgroup that had been set up by my mother in the 1970s and 80s. I sort of wish that she was here to see that this was a lever that we had managed to pull.
How would she feel about it?
My mother's commitment to women's healthcare in this space was so great that I just think that she would just be really proud. And I feel pretty proud of a new government and especially a Home Office that is largely staffed now, certainly at the ministerial level, by women. I think it shows.
What do you say to those people because there's been protesters outside Parliament today that say, they are entitled to their views and they're also entitled to their right to protest, and they're not happy with this change?
I would also die in a ditch for the right to protest, as somebody who has protested many things. But there is a time and a place. People who have completely the opposite view to me on the availability of abortion services have every right to hold those views. They do not have the right, and I'm pleased to say they no longer have the right to enforce that on women seeking healthcare at the time when those women are seeking healthcare. It's a 150-metre zone. People can feel exactly how they feel and they can have protest outside Parliament. They are absolutely entitled to, and I would fight for their right to do that. But this is about protecting women.
Do you feel like it's a constant fight here in the UK and abroad, especially for women's rights generally, but also on this issue specifically of abortion?
I feel very incredibly lucky to live in the country that I live in. Over the last decade that I have been elected, we have actually seen on these isles, if I were to include the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, real leaps forward that were a constant fight. The procurement of telemedicine so that women could secure safe abortions at home and not have to suffer the kind of stories about miscarriages on the bus. So we have been making progress. It is always a constant fight. You do have to fight for it. You should never take your foot off the pedal. But I feel incredibly humbled by the fact that we've been able to make progress at a time when globally there has been a step back. And if we look across the pond to the United States, the level of the current presidential debate that has become about abortion and access to actually the other women's healthcare that flow out of that it's always a worry to those of us who wish for women the world over, not just women here, to be able to secure access to their healthcare.
That's it for today from the Sky News Daily. I'm Liz Bates, and tomorrow we'll be handing over to our US team. With the election just days away, and of course abortion is a huge issue in that upcoming election. It could even influence the results. So do tune in to our US episodes every day for the next week. And thank you for listening.